guys, it's me Rebecca. So this will be the start of another weekly vlog. And as you saw today, I did go out. I'm gonna probably explain a bit because the end of my last vlog was me going to library book sales, and that's how this vlog begins. But it's been a week since I filmed this, noticed by my hair length, which I have cut a bit shorter, but yeah. The town next to mine was doing the book sale, so yeah. And I did get 2 books. The first was When I'm Dead by Hannah Morrissey, which is part of her, I think it's the Dream Harbor series. I read the first and last book earlier this year, and yeah, it's just really just detective crime series where the town plays the main character, and you don't really need to read the series in order from what I understand. So you should probably read the first book and last book, and we'll read the first book first and the last book last, because you see characters in the last book who have a history in the first book. So yeah. And the second book that I got was Kaya by Colin Washington. I'm intrigued for that, and yeah, as you saw, I did also go for a walk. I enjoyed the fall foliage while it's still here, while the leaves are still on the trees, and yeah. And I did do some reading. I finished a book this morning, which was An Academy of Liars by Alexis Henderson. I thought it was fine, 3 stars. I don't know, I just didn't really feel connected to the characters personally. My thoughts will be in my October wrap-up, which should be up before this. But what I started today was Jacoby by William Ritter, which is the book I hauled in my last video. And this is about newly arrived in New England in 1892 and in need of a job. Abigail Wook meets R.F. Jacoby, an investigator of the unexplained with a keen eye for the extraordinary, including the ability to see supernatural beings. Abigail has a gift for noticing ordinary but important details, which makes her perfect for the position of Jacoby's assistant. On her first day, Abigail finds herself in the midst of a thrilling case. The serial killer is on the loose. The police are convinced it's an ordinary villain, but Jacoby is certain that the foul deeds are the work of the kind of creature whose very existence the local authorities, with the expectation of a handsome young detective named Charlie Kane, seem adamant to deny. And I have to say, when it's like New England, it's like New England's not even a state. I don't know about how it was in 1892. I doubt it was a state, but New England is a region in the U.S. made up of 6 states. So yeah. And besides that, I'm only on page 44, and we see Abigail. She gets off the boat. She meets Jacoby at a bar where he's able to guess where she's been. She is originally from England. Her parents have quite traditional views on what is expected of her, and she's like, no. Like they did allow her to go to school, but she took the tuition money and has left and has been to Eastern Europe and then to Western Europe, and decided to explore New England for more of an adventure and try to be sense of things. And we see Abigail. She's just trying to find not a place for herself, but find a job that will allow her to have a roof over her head and not go hungry. And she sees the flyer of an assistant needed for Jacoby. And he is an investigative detective, a private investigator who assists the police even though they don't want his help. And a blurb on the front is Sherlock Holmes quest with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is from the Chicago Tribune. And I get the Sherlock vibes from this in the sense Jacoby is someone who shows up to crime scenes, makes these observations. No one who's from the actual police seem to like him or want him there, and yet sometimes he is useful. So I get the Sherlock Holmes that bit, and yeah, I'm just intrigued in seeing where the story goes. So yeah. And for the rest of the day, I'm gonna burrow myself under a blanket because I don't know why I'm cold, and yeah, just enjoy my Sunday. So yeah, that's all for now. So I'll see you next. So it's the next day, and I've done some work and whatnot, and I've also done some reading of Jacoby, putting me on page 126, and I do have to say I'm having a lot of fun with this. It is this mini detective novel with the supernatural, and as we see, the detective who's assigned to this case, Morrow, he essentially has Jacoby kicked out of the scene. He seems very skeptical about the whole supernatural thing that Jacoby's about, believing there's, I guess, a non-supernatural reason for crimes to occur. And Jacoby, he's still investigating, and he goes to another apartment to ask questions, and this person is saying they're always hearing screaming, crying in the apartment above them, and it's constant and won't stop. And Jacoby and Abigail and junior detective who's been asked to escort them out of the building, Charlie, go up there, and we see Jacoby's people skills when he offends someone, a woman who happens to be Irish, and he gets socked. Turns out her mother is living with her, and she's the one who's been causing the sound. And turns out this woman, mother, is a banshee, and that the guy in the apartment below them will be dead the next day. So, and Jacoby and Abigail, they go back to his building, and he leaves, and Abigail explores, and she finds this, I guess, someone left a note saying they found something, they were going to go investigate, and then we come back to update, and they never came to update that notice, which is a bit odd. It was a previous assistant of Jacoby's, and she continues to explore, and this entire building is quite odd, and she sees things, hears things, and later we learn that there's a pond on the third floor which has an island, and it's like, with how deep the water is, and it should be impossible due to the height of the ceiling in the floor below it, but there's a ghost that Abigail can see through. She doesn't have, I guess, the gift or the ability to see the supernatural, and with that, we do learn that Jacoby, he considers himself to be a seer, and there's three kinds of people: those who see what's there right in front of them, those who are able to see beyond that, and those who see the what if, and he's the one who sees beyond what's there. And he thinks he's the only seer in the world, as he's done his research and tried to find others like him, and there haven't been. He thinks, is that when a seer dies, their abilities are passed to someone else, and that ability is just given to that person. And that's something that's quite interesting, and I do kind of want to see explored, as well as there's hints of, like, I don't know if he's just someone who doesn't know how to read and write properly, like if he was never really taught, because He doesn't know how to read, but his handwriting is unreadable, as to say. So, yeah, there is that, and it seems like they have met someone who sees the what if, and someone who tries to prevent negative stuff from happening, who was there the night of the death of this person and possibly saw the murderer, who it might not be a actual monster, but worse, a human being in a business suit. And there's a line that I just thought was perfect and accurate, and it's on page 112. It's, monsters are easy, Miss Wook. They're monsters, but a monster in a suit, that's basically just a wicked man, and a wicked man is more dangerous thing by far. And it's like, these men who are just horrible, they're worse than the monsters that we're supposed to be scared of. And I don't know, I'm kind of getting hints of who that could be, if it could be the new superintendent of the police force, who is urgent to get the case solved. And as well, it seems like our victim, he was a reporter, and there was a map where it's like a lot of things written that just doesn't really make sense. So I'm also trying to figure out, and I'm trying to see, and I'm curious really if it's some sort of corruption in politics or what. But yeah, so far I'm liking it. I'm just having a lot of fun. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and I've just done some work and whatnot, and I have done quite a bit of reading of Jacob putting me on page 218, and I've got to say I am liking this. I'm very much intrigued about the case and seeing Jacoby's, I would say, eccentric personality, how he, what is the phrase I want to say? It's like, I think it's like he ruffs up some feathers because the chief inspector does not like him, can barely tolerate him, and yet Jacoby keeps showing up. And just Abigail, she does meet the residential ghost, and whose family owned the building Jacoby resides in now, and it seems like her fiance might have had something to do with her death. And also Douglas, who was a human being, but he was turned into a duck on a case. He was a previous assistant of Jacoby, and we just see Jenny. She is very, very quick to warm up to Abigail and invite her to stay as wanna. And there's been another death, and it's the person who was hearing the banshee cry. And Jacoby and Abigail, my word, they took this map from Bragg's apartment, that first victim, and they realized the murderer was going back and forth a bunch of different towns to there's no killing spree in a specific town, and then he would leave. It was like, kill someone, leave town, kill someone else in another town, and to avoid detection. And it seems like he resides in New Fiddleham, and he's never killed there. And when they're caught at the second time, in the police, they do arrest Jacoby for, well, they suspect him in his honest, and they discovered he did tamper with evidence. And we further see Marlowe not really living up to the expectations of the new superintendent of the police force, who really only cares about his the polls. And while Abigail and Jacoby are locked up, they and everyone else hears the banshee scream and crying, which tells them they will die, and they can tell it's everyone because everyone is crying, as it has that effect on them. And suddenly the banshee stops. Suddenly, like it's very abruptly when, and they're informed that the banshee is dead. It seems like the murderer knew what was happening and killed her to prevent her from crying about someone else's death and alerting the others. And it seems like now officially Jacoby's on the case, and Marl is just like, stop, don't hold anything back, I know where you live and all of that. So you know, seeing Jacoby's very eccentric personality just made me laugh. Like, he definitely knows how to get under Marl's skin, and it's quite entertaining. And we see Abigail. She is extremely drawn to the junior detective, Charlie. Thinks he's extremely handsome and is just drawn to him. And there is the possibility that he could be the killer. And she tries to think that because he heard the banshee screaming, I mean, he's innocent. When really Jacoby points out everyone, including the murderer, heard the banshee screaming. So there is doubt that Charlie is involved, and I'm curious if that's the case. That also seems quite obvious. My bets are on the superintendent. Like, he wants to have a good look through what would that mean for killing our second victim, Mr. Harrison. Like, why are these people being chosen to die, or have their blood collected? Because it seems like whoever's killing them is also taking their blood. So what is this about? I'm just very much intrigued. So yeah, overall, I'm just having fun with this, and yeah, and I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and I've just done some work, and for some reason today I've just not been able to pay attention. I don't know, my mind's just been all over the place. I don't know if it's just I'm struggling to concentrate, or if I'm just a bit tired. I don't know why, but yeah, I was able to do the work I needed to do today, which is good. And I did finish Jacoby, and I'm giving it 4 stars. We see okay, Jacoby has Marl bring together all of the police officers available to solve the case, and this affects Charlie, who is extremely tired. He's a bit too loyal, and he's not taking care of himself to do his job. And I guess it was a full moon, because in front of everyone he transforms into a werewolf. Who it's not a werewolf, it's some Womanian creature Jacoby knows of, and yeah, and people see this and think he has something to do with it, and they went into the woods to follow him when Abigail, she encounters the superintendent of the police force, Spade, who he's also not who he is, and he is this fairy creature that's not immune, I guess, to the effects of iron, and he wears iron shoes because they were iron just to show off the fact that iron doesn't touch them, doesn't affect them. And he's something called a wet cap, which is like you still go put the blood in to get powerful, I guess. I'm doing a bad job of explaining this, but yeah, and they're able to destroy him by simply destroying the red cap. But because of what happened, because of people seeing what they saw, Charlie, who saved Abigail, is now painted as the public enemy, while Spade, who tried to kill Abigail, is seen as this public hero. He is also honored. He's at a memorial for the other 4 victims. The fourth one was a police officer who was killed during the pursuit. And this upsets Jacoby and upsets Abigail and Jacoby does something to remind people that, or to really tell people that Spade isn't who he was, and we see Jacoby actually care about Abigail's reputation, because we've seen throughout this novel how women, they will look at Abigail and look down on her because she doesn't present herself as how women should in this time period in 1892, and he is now worried about her reputation, and she's like, I don't care, I want an adventure. I'm tired of caring what people think. I'm tired of doing what people want me to do, and I just want to do what I want to do. So yeah, I do like that, and I think how he accepts, like, she's a stubborn one, and he allows her to be his assistant, and even gives her the notepad that she wanted, because she's like, oh, every detective needs a notepad, one of the kind of like flips up like that. And yeah, overall, yeah, I enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun, and I'm giving it 4 stars. And I think I will mention what I'll be reading tomorrow. So yeah, I think that's all for now. So it's the next day, and I've done some work on my laptop, and I've also filmed, edited, and uploaded my October wrap-up. I'm kind of glad I didn't mention what book I was planning to read next yesterday, as the book I initially planned to read was Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I read like 8 pages of it, and I realized I just didn't care, so I didn't up that quite quickly. And I did start The Monk by Matthew Lewis, and I'm definitely like writing more. I'm definitely intrigued about this more. This is about Ambroso, as he is tempted into a world of incest, murder, and torture by a young girl who has concealed herself in his monastery, disguised as a boy. As Ambroso spirals into hell, the reader encounters an array of haunting characters: the innocent virgin, the bleeding nun, the wandering Jew, an evil Paris, and Lucifer himself. And so far with this, we meet this girl, Antonia, as she goes to service with her aunt and catches the eye of this man named Lorenzo. And Antonia, she's quite, I guess, traditional. She doesn't want to remove her veil when everyone else has. And her aunt, who's a bit of a gossip, shares her family's life story. It seems like Antonia, is she's the daughter of from this marriage where her father's family didn't approve of it, and something happened to her mother. I don't know, but yeah, Lorenzo seems enchanted by her. And when Antonia and her aunt, they're walking back to their house after service, they went into this gypsy, and she tells Antonia's aunt that she won't find love, she'll be the same forever, she'll just commit herself to the service and whatnot to God. And she gets a bad vibe from Antonia, like she just sees evilness, I guess, in her. And with Umberto, he's someone who, he was just discovered like at the what is it called? At the monastery when he was extremely young. No one knows where he came from, and he's so devoted to church and to God. And one of the people jokingly said that he came from a virgin birth. And he is someone who's extremely devoted. Like, he spends all his time studying. He doesn't really interact with society, and he seems just to think everyone should live to the word of the God, even looking down on a nun who comes to him during confession, and he learns that she is pregnant, and she tells him she was gonna marry the guy, and then something happened. She wasn't able to. That's why she ended up nunnery, and he discovers a letter from her lover, and she is gonna attempt to flee, and he tells her to give it to her parents, and she tries to reason with him, and he won't listen. So, yeah. So far with Ambrose, it's someone who's very devoted, and yeah, I'm liking it. I'm very much intrigued on what's going on, and yeah, I think I'll be doing some more reading later, but we shall see. So, yeah, definitely on Holland Demon Copperhead. Like, no, not for me, sadly, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I think that's all for now. So I'll see you when I see you. So it's the next day, and it's been quite a windy day, I should say. It is also Halloween, so the wind and the clouds quite gloomy, appropriate for today. But yeah, so far today I've done some work, and I did some grocery shopping and whatnot, and I did do some reading, and I plan to do more because I'm currently on page 90 of the manga, and I saw page 100 marks the end of part 1, so yeah. I just wanted to update now because I think by the time I update later it'll be dark and I'll be more tired than I am now, so might as well do it now. And what it is then? Oh my word. Emperor Russell. He has this monk at the convent whose rank is below him, I guess. I don't really know this by the name. He's someone who Umberto is quite close with. He sees the guy as like his son, and he stumbles upon this man, this boy, not meditating but thinking about something, and they reveal that they're actually a girl. That they saw a service that Umberto gave and wanted to be close with him, and Umberto's like, "You need to leave. This is a convent. This is for men. This isn't for women." And he tells her she will leave, that it's an order, and she just won't. And he gets himself poisoned when he gets himself bitten by this poisonous snake. It's something that there's not really... There is a cure, but the physician doesn't feel comfortable or confident doing it. So he just put some herbs on Umbraso as he's slowly dying, and the monk, was Aurora, I believe the name was, or Margaret? Not Margaret, but something with a name. I forgot to take notes. And they try and bring him comfort, they play music for him, and why not? And Ambrosio is just finding himself drawn to this girl, and it's making him kind of want to go against the vows he took in order to stay, like, to make sure he carries on with his vows. She just have to leave, and he gives her 3 days, and Wazara will be to hide his features, and in fact he is a girl. Well, yeah, she is a girl. Always had her face covered. No one saw in the veil or thing that she wore to cover her face. It comes up, and Ambrosio sees her face, and he has this painting of Madonna, and it looks a lot like her, and she says, "Yeah, an artist took my appearance and made me look like Madonna." So I don't know, I just found that quite funny. And Ambrosio, he just is finding himself aroused and tries to push down the temptation who it overflows, I guess, and the end of that chapter is something happening between the two of them. And then the second chapter is, or the next chapter is Lorenzo. He meets up with a friend, or he not meets up, but here's the story of Baptiste, who, while traveling, stayed at this roadside inn and learned of a plot to rob him, as Baptiste is someone who has a lot of money, and someone else, a woman who was also traveling, who also has a lot of money, and how he overhears the plot by the innkeeper, and the innkeeper's wife tries to help him get away, and that's as the innkeeper gives him and this girl poisonous wine. So, and the innkeeper's wife tells him not to drink it, and he doesn't, and this raises suspicion in the innkeeper. So, yeah. So far, I am liking it. I am liking the writing style, and I'm just intrigued on what will happen next. So, yeah. I think that's all for now. I'm gonna do some more reading, so I'll see you. So it's the next day, and it was quite a windy day, as I did go out earlier today just to do some more grocery shopping, and yeah, I didn't film any of my walk, which I did go just because the wind was too much and I did not want to take off my gloves, so yeah. But I finished that, and yeah, I've just been, I don't know, I've just been tired a lot recently. I don't know what that's about, so, but I did do quite a bit of reading of the monk, and I'm on page 152, and I'm definitely liking it. Okay, with our traveler, his name is Raymond. He goes to the house of the woman he was supposed to be like robbed with, I guess, and he meets, I believe, her niece, or her niece, and the woman tells him that the niece is like, that her parents promised to send her to a convent when she's of age, like something they did before she was born, because I believe the mother had like an illness, and Raymond is trying to convince this girl and her relatives to not do that, to not send her back to her father, and there's, I don't even know, not even maybe a miscommunication, but Raymond spends some time with the girl's aunt, who develops feelings for him, and she thinks he has feelings for her, and he tells her he doesn't, and she's a very vengeful woman, and as she tells him, she'll just, okay, where's my train of thought, that she'll have him leave the castle, talk crap about him essentially, and have her niece go to the convent, and he'll never see her again. Like, this woman is just resentful for the fact, like, he's in love with her niece, and that's what she does. He has to leave, and he and Agnes do write to each other, and they do promise to meet and run away together. However, the person who got into the carriage is this person called the Bleeding Nun, who we later learn her backstory is she was someone who was in a convent but broke her vows, and was the mistress to this baron, and the baron's brother tricked her into killing him, and then the brother killed her and just left her body there so he could take over his brother's position, and her bones have just been in a cave, and she's resentful as no one buried her or gave her the proper funeral rites, I guess, and it's up to women in order to put that behind him, as it was his family that caused her demise to do so. And the thing is, Agnes went to the place they were supposed to meet. She didn't see women, and her aunt just got it in her head that he was horrible, that with her talking crap and whatnot. And it got to Agnes, who believed him, and she did go back to Spain and promised herself to a convent. And Raymond, he sneaks in through pretending to be an apprentice, I guess, to the gardener, and he tells her what happened, and she regrets it. And they do talk and whatnot, spend a lot of time together, and at some point it seems she falls pregnant and tries to keep away from him and sends him away. And yeah, she tries to reach out to him, writing the letters back and forth, and it is her that's who is caught by Amber's on the beginning of the book, I believe. So yeah, Raymond has a plan to, I guess, not rescue her, but get her away from the convent, even though it would mean, with the fact she did promise herself to God and whatnot, that it would just hurt her family's reputation and cause a bit of a downfall in the eyes of society. But yeah, and the person who he's willing to go up this to is Lorenzo, who is Agnes's brother, who didn't really know of what's going on, as his parents never told him, and they very heavily what is, there's a word that's just skipping my mind. They censored, my god. They censored his letters to Agnes to make her go into the convent. I have no name, but yeah, so far I'm liking it. It seems like Lorenzo will be helping Raymond save Agnes or get her out of there. So I am curious with the fact she is in a lot of trouble because of the letter discovered on her person. What this would mean for her and how, what, I don't know, I'm just curious about a lot of things, so yeah. But yeah, that's all for now, and that's also the end of this video. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, tell me what you've been up to recently. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel, and if you want to follow me on any social media, then all those things are in the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time.